In the twilight village of Amulalu, tucked between hills that breathed mist and forests that whispered forgotten names, the night always came gently, except when the moon was full. On such nights, silence held its breath, and the elders lit black incense by their doorways. Only fools wandered outside. 14-year-old Ebel knew nothing of this. Her mother, Mama Nkechi, had kept many things from her. The story of her birth, the markings on her back, the fact that she had been born during a lunar eclipse. And most of all, why no one in Amulalu ever spoke of her father. Ebel had always been different. She could feel people's moods when they walked past. She saw colors around the trees no one else could see. But it wasn't until her left breast began to swell, gently at first, then more insistently each night, that she grew afraid. At first, she thought it was puberty, just as Mama Nkechi said, brushing it off with her usual firm tone. It is the body becoming a woman. Do not be afraid. But Ebel knew girls her age. They whispered together by the river, giggling about changes and crushes. None spoke of swelling that returned with the moon. None said their skin felt as though it pulsed beneath moonlight. The village midwife, Aya Okomo, took one look at Ebel's chest and paled. "Bind it," she said in a hushed tone, pressing a pouch of bitter-smelling herbs into Mama Nkechi's hand. "Tell no one." "But what is it?" Mama Nkechi asked. "A call," Aya Okomo muttered, eyes scanning the open window as if something might be listening. Something old. Something hungry. That night, Mama Nkechi did not sleep. She placed Ebel in the middle of their hut and sat at the door, muttering prayers Ebel had never heard before. Her hands trembled. Her eyes did not leave the moonlight that crept slowly across the floor like a searching hand. Ebel, confused and aching, woke to find her breast larger again. Heavier. It ached as if it had been bruised from within. She looked down and gasped. Something moved beneath the skin. A twitch. A ripple. She screamed. Mama Nkechi was at her side in a heartbeat, placing both hands on the swelling and chanting in a tongue Ebel didn't recognize. The pain dulled for a moment, but didn't vanish. "We must leave," Mama Nkechi whispered, tears in her eyes. "We should have left when you turned 12. Ebel stared at her mother. "What do you mean? Leave where? Why is this happening to me?" Mama Nkechi didn't answer. That day, word of Ebel's scream spread. Children whispered. The village dogs wouldn't go near their hut. And in the evening, when the wind blew from the hills, a deep humming, soft and terrible, seemed to echo from the earth itself. It was then the elders summoned Mama Nkechi to the shrine of Old Voice, the village's spirit-bound oracle. "You lied to us," one said. "You promised the curse was buried," said another. "She is not the one," Mama Nkechi replied, though her voice broke under the weight of the lie. But the moon was full again that night, and Ebel's breast grew larger still. The next morning, Ebel woke to find her chest soaked in sweat and her shirt stained with a thick, white fluid, not milk, but something colder, with a sharp metallic smell. It leaked slowly from the pores of her left breast, which now hung heavier, warmer than the rest of her body, as if it had a heartbeat of its own. She pressed her fingers into the swelling and winced. Something pushed back. It wasn't hers anymore. Outside, the village was quiet. Not the kind of peaceful silence Ebel loved when she fetched water at dawn, but the kind that came before a burial. Doors were shut. Mothers pulled children inside. Birds did not sing. "Mama, talk to me," she pleaded. Mama Nkechi was packing. Silently. Frantically. Wrapping dried roots, worn fabric, and a strange carved idol in a small cloth bag. "We're going to Isen Grove," she finally said. "To the womb tree. That's where it all began." What began? But her mother didn't answer. Not with words. She walked over and removed Ebel's shirt with trembling hands. She reached into the bag and pulled out a shard of obsidian, muttered a prayer, and placed it flat against Ebel's chest. The crystal hissed, and a sliver of smoke rose. Ebel gasped. Her knees buckled. "Mama." The stone sizzled again, then cracked in two. Her mother dropped it. "It's worse than I thought." They left the village under the cover of dusk, carrying nothing but herbs, the idol, and the truth Ebel hadn't yet heard. Behind them, the shrine drummers beat slow warning rhythms. The elders watched from shadowed doorways. The path to Isin Grove was a forbidden one, thick with thorn trees and spirits that mimicked voices. Even grown men avoided it. But Mama Nkechi walked with fierce purpose, whispering the name, Adama, under her breath. "Who is Adama?" Ebel finally asked. Mama Nkechi sighed, stopped walking, and turned to her daughter. Her voice cracked. "You were born with a twin," she said. Ebel froze. She didn't breathe. Stillborn. But her heart, it twitched. The moon was red that night, and I was warned not to bury her in the earth. Tears brimmed in her eyes. But I was young, angry, and grieving. I buried her at the base of the womb tree, alone. No ritual. No prayers. Just earth and rage. Ebel clutched her breast, which now pulsed rhythmically, as though in recognition of the story. "What does that have to do with me?" "She's coming back," Mama Nkechi whispered. "And she's using her body as the door." A gust of wind blew through the trees. It sounded like a child's giggle. By midnight, they reached the outer ring of Isin Grove. Trees stood tall and too still. No crickets. No owls. The air was thick, like holding your breath underwater. And then Ebel saw it. The womb tree. It was wider than 5 men standing shoulder to shoulder. Its bark was dark red, like dried blood. Its roots curled outward, like fingers gripping the earth. And right at its base was a small mound, marked with stones shaped like half-moons. Ebel's breast began to throb wildly, pulsing to a rhythm the tree seemed to echo. She collapsed to her knees, gasping. From her chest, something whispered. "Adama," it said. Mama Nkechi lit the incense. She began to chant in the tongue of the ancestors. The idol trembled in her hand. The ground began to move. The small mound at the base of the tree cracked open, and something black and wet began to rise from the soil. It looked like a child's skeleton, but wrapped in roots, moss, and pulsing flesh. Its eye sockets glowed faintly. Its mouth moved without sound. Ebel screamed as the shape lifted its arm, and her breast surged outward in response. The skin stretched, veins glowing pale blue under moonlight. Mama Nkechi rushed forward and hurled the idol at the creature's feet. "I claim back my womb. I close the gate," she cried. The idol burst into flame. The spirit shrieked silently, writhing. Roots curled around its frame like snakes. The womb tree trembled. Ebel felt a jolt in her chest, like something tearing. And then, silence. Her breast stopped pulsing. The heat vanished. But just as she exhaled in relief, she looked down and saw her skin darkening into bark. The bark spread slowly, creeping from her left breast across her collarbone and shoulder like moss-devouring stone. It was not rough but smooth, like polished wood, warm to the touch and alive. Ebel stared at her arm in horror. "Mama, what is this?" Mama Nkechi dropped to her knees, cradling Ebel's face. Her eyes brimmed with guilt and dread. "I was too late. The bond has rooted. I don't understand. I thought we stopped it. We disturbed her spirit, yes. But now she clings to you, Ebel. Not just to your body, but your blood. She is trying to live through you." Ebel could feel it. Something foreign now nestled beneath her ribs, a rhythm not her own. Her left side was heavier, her breath shallower, and her breast, it still ached. The womb tree behind them crackled. A low groan rumbled from within it like a sigh from an ancient throat. The moon, high above, peeked through the tangled canopy, bathing them in silver light. In the moonlight, Ebel's reflection shimmered in a pool of water nearby. But her reflection moved differently. Its mouth smiled when hers didn't. Her knees buckled again. The reflection leaned forward and spoke without sound. It mouthed, "We were meant to grow together." Mama Nkechi grabbed Ebel and yanked her away from the pool. She drew a long dagger carved from bone and held it toward the moonlight. "I swore I would protect her," she said aloud, as though the trees were listening. "Even from what I buried." They retreated from Isin Grove before dawn, guided only by instinct and the prayers Mama Nkechi chanted under her breath. The forest pressed around them, shadows flickering, leaves whispering secrets in tones too soft to understand. By the time they returned to Amilolu, the village had changed. A strange fog lay low to the ground. Chickens clucked nervously. Dogs whimpered and refused to approach the women. People watched from windows, silent, scared. The drums no longer played. And on every door was smeared a black crescent, done in ash and something thicker, darker. "What is this?" Ebel asked. Mama Nkechi's eyes darted from door to door. "It's a warding mark. The elders know she's coming. But we stopped her." "No," Mama Nkechi said. "We only slowed her. And now the village fears you. Because when a spirit latches to a living womb, it does not let go." The next night, the swelling returned, more violently than ever. Ebel awoke screaming, her breast ballooned and blood seeping from cracks in her skin. Inside her, something writhed. Mama Nkechi lit every candle in the hut, scattered salt, poured sacred chalk around the bed, and knelt, singing. Ebel writhed in pain, eyes white with terror. From her breast came a whisper, "Let me be born." And then fingers, tiny, bony fingers pushing from beneath the flesh. Ebel woke at sunrise surrounded by ashes. The hut had burned, though she and Mama Nkechi had been untouched. But where her swollen breast had been, there was now a large scar, and a spiral symbol burned into her skin. The pain had gone. She felt hollow. "What happened?" she whispered. "You rejected her," Mama Nkechi said. "You survived." But Ebel wasn't sure, because in her dreams that night, she heard a lullaby sung in two voices, hers and another that sounded just like her, only sadder, more hollow, and the reflection in the water still smiled without her. The next few days were tense. The elders demanded Ebel be tested by the oracle. Some villagers whispered she should be exiled before the spirit found another way through. Mama Nkechi resisted them, but she was tired. One evening, Aya Okomo came quietly to the hut, holding a pouch of herbs and a string of cowrie shells.
"She's not gone," she said.
"Only dormant. Spirits that enter through the womb cannot be burned out by fire." "Then what do we do?" Mama Nkechi asked. Aya Okomo placed the pouch at Ebel's feet. "You must take her to the River of Teeth. Let the spirit choose. Life or return." "The River of Teeth?" Ebel asked. "It's where all mothers go when their wombs carry more than life. If the moon claims her, she'll be reborn. If not, she'll leave you but take something with her." Ebel looked down at her chest, now calm, but marked forever. The spiral scar pulsed once, as if it understood. "I'll go," she said, because in her dreams, her twin now stood closer. And soon she would want to be whole. The journey to the River of Teeth was not marked on any map. It lived in legend and shadow, spoken of in whispers during childbirth and funerals. Only women who had touched the spirit realm knew its path, and most never returned. Aya Okomo led the way, her step steady though her breath grew heavy in the morning mist. Mama Nkechi followed, clutching her daughter's hand. And Ebel, now 15, her body scarred and spirit weary, walked between them, marked by the moon and the twin who lived beneath her skin. They passed forests where the trees leaned back, as if making way, through fields where bones of old gods lay half-buried in red soil, over a hill crowned with skulls, where vultures circled but did not land. And then they heard it. Not water.
Teeth.
A grinding, rhythmic gnashing, like bones crushed between ancient jaws. When they reached the bank, Ebel understood the name. The river was no ordinary stream. Its waters shimmered silver and dark, flowing over jagged stones shaped like molars and incisors, rows upon rows of sharp, unnatural teeth. The current hissed and chewed, hungry and endless. "This river," Aya Okomo said, "is where the moon drinks, where cursed wombs are cleansed. But it does not give without taking." "What must I do?" Ebel asked. "Step into the water. Let it see you. Speak her name. Then wait." Mama Nkechi handed her a string of white cowrie shells and kissed her forehead. No matter what it shows you, remember, you are not her. You are not a dama. But Ebel wasn't sure anymore. Sometimes in her dreams she was a dama. She remembered a cold womb, the soil above her face, the loneliness, the hunger. She stepped into the water. It was cold, sharp. It sliced her feet as she moved, but drew no blood. When she reached the center, the moon broke through the clouds. A beam of silver light struck her chest, and the spiral scar glowed. And then, she was not in her body anymore. Ebel stood in a dark reflection of Amulalu, silent, decayed, filled with bones. A child's laughter echoed across the rooftops. She turned and saw herself, but younger, paler skin, black eyes, bark spreading from her neck down her arms, a spiral mark glowing on her chest. "You forgot me," the twin said. "You were supposed to carry me." "I didn't know," Ebel whispered. "But you felt me." The ghost stepped closer. "I was the older one. I came first. I tasted air, saw the moon. Then Mother buried me like a mistake." Ebel shook her head. "You weren't a mistake. She grieved you. She didn't know how to send you properly. Then why did she seal me in the roots?" The bark grew up the ghost's face now. She looked like a mask carved from the womb tree itself. "I was hungry, sister. I reached for your warmth. You are the door. Let me in." "No," Ebel said. "You will not live through me." The spirit bared her teeth. "Then I will tear my way through." She lunged, but Ebel raised the cowrie necklace. It glowed bright gold. The shells sang, not in a melody, but in a rhythm older than time. The spirit howled, recoiling, cracks forming across her bark-like skin. "You are not stronger than me." Ebel stepped forward. "I am not stronger, but I am living. I am chosen. You are grief. I am memory." The twin cracked and shattered like dry wood. Ebel awoke, lying in the river's center. Her breast was flat, normal. The spiral was gone. Mama Nkechi and Aya Okomo pulled her to shore, weeping. The sky above was clear. The moon dimmed gently. And then, from behind them, the teeth of the river shifted. A tiny figure, bark-skinned, peaceful, rose from the water and drifted away on the current. Not angry, not hungry, just gone. A dama had been born, in her own way. They returned to Amulala weeks later. Ebel's body was quiet now. The village welcomed her, not with cheers, but with cautious respect. The elders allowed her to plant a tree at the village edge. She named it Memory Tree. At night, she sometimes stood beneath it, touching the scar that was no longer there, but still real to her. And sometimes, in moonlight, she heard laughter from the tree's branches. Not haunting, just familiar. The end.